pretty much exactly what Lizzie put out there was explained to you, and you actually, again, nodded your head repeatedly and said, yes, I totally agree, that's what's needed. I'm concerned that over the past 3 years in that time, there hasn't really been sufficient movement towards that position. And I'm not sure that the current board and the current executive have the trust of this community to get it where it needs to go. So I kind of actually have a question for you, as in, who are your board members and who are your executive, and what is their power, what is their experience to actually make this happen? Because my understanding of a board and any organisation is that its actions and its intentions filter down from the top. You as chair are a former banker of Schroders on an annual salary of £3 million. That makes you completely divorced from any other person in this room, to my knowledge, in terms of financial life and living and basic understanding as a human being in North Kensington. In addition, you're currently a trustee on the Wellcome Trust. Now, my understanding from the Wellcome Trust's report that was released, I think, this month, was that you have public equity in Wellcome Trust of £13 billion. You have private equity of £6 billion. You have hedge funds in excess of £2 billion and property in excess of £2 billion. So obviously, that's got me kind of confused as to why you're the chair of the Westway Trust, an organisation of £8 million turnover in a small part of North Kensington. Why are you here?
You want me to try off? So, you raised a lot of good questions there. Yes, it is true that Wellcome Trust has in total about £24 billion of assets, net assets, just under. And it gives away about £1 billion a year towards medical research to create extraordinary improvements in human health. I think that's something to be proud of, and I certainly feel very proud of being involved with it. You used the word "you" having all that money. You do appreciate it's Wellcome Trust that has the 24 billion, and not me. I know you appreciate that. On the reason why am I here? I mean, it's a very good question. The reason why I'm here is because I really do deeply love this area. My great-great-grandparent came into Faraday Road in 1870. When I first came to London from university, used to live above 88 Portobello Road in an unheated flat there. And I've lived in or around the area for most of my adult life. So now that I've gone, no longer full-time employed, I have sought out positions which I hope are both interesting and where I can contribute back to the communities I'm in. That's why I'm here, and if I'm not wanted, I'll go. I'm not here for any personal benefit. I really am not.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Please. Yeah. No, you're right. Hold on just one moment.
Yeah, just considering the feedback that you had on page 20 and the nodding of Alan's head, can you sort of give us a position of, like, you know, response at the hearing and response?
I give you
the CEO, because she seems to be determined to follow the old procedures.
I'll pass it to Alex in just a second. I just want to be very clear that we quite deliberately did not take any board decisions on Bay 20 in advance of this meeting, because we did want to hear the reaction of all of you out here. So let me just be aware of that.
Yeah, I mean, the position is that we're going to keep talking to people, and there's a group of people in this room that, and we've heard and we've captured the feedback from everybody about this, and we've heard it in other meetings too. And there's also other organisations and other individuals who do have a different view, and that's
in relation to what Lizzie has been saying.
Yeah.
Can you address that?
But there are people who also have a different view from Lizzie's views.
No, but the nodding of the head
that's
of
something that we can, personally, it's something that I've been wanting to do in this organisation for quite a long time.
Are you going to do it?
So I think my view is that I would like to try and pursue community determination, co-design. I think we do have constraints with the BBC project, and so if it's not possible to do it on that one, that we need to look at another site for some other things. Absolutely, absolutely, and I really want to do that.
Do we acknowledge that what you're doing now is not co-design?
It's not co-design, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
But you do want to do co-design.
We're trying to do the best we can within the constraints and get a building or a built form and involve people as much as we can in how that runs and how that operates and what it looks like and who uses it and all of those things. I mean, one of the ideas that came forward is to create a sort of steering group of community representatives that oversee that building and how it runs and how it operates. So
Can we go back to the drawing board?
So we take a further step back from it because I do want to. I don't want us to have to do all the administration and all of that stuff. I want people to get involved and have a say and run it for themselves. Absolutely. But there are. I think there are other sites on the 23 acres where we could do something that's co-design, and we work alongside people, and people take the lead, and it's completely determined right from the beginning. So the idea is not ours; it's somebody else's idea, and that process. I would like us to look at doing very soon.
Alex, can you make it clear to people how much of the site you're talking about? Because
of the Bay 20 site.
Is that we weren't going to get the whole of the site. BBC couldn't afford to do the whole of the site. They make it do it within their week. And we're putting the whole building up in a week. How much of that site is now being developed for community use? How much of it? I understand 2/3 it was the boxing club.
No. Sorry, it's about a third of the boxing and 2/3 community. Yeah.
I don't think people are aware that is what we're talking about at this point.
Yeah. Thanks, Steve.
And all of the interior and the way it operates is all to be determined.
So basically, you are just going to get a shower. You're going to get the drainage, all those the background stuff done. At this point, there's no decision being made around that 2/3 of the community space. That's still all up for discussion. Is that completely clear at the moment? Just that 1/3 of the boxing club has been agreed.
And we'll have a shell.
Yeah.
For the community
space, just the shell.
While we're discussing a little bit more nodding, I would rather like to move on to the question of governance with community trustees, whether they have true scrutiny, whether they are on par with the other trustees in different silos. It seems that you seem to quite like the model of silo management, which means that the community trustees don't really get a chance to be fully aware and scrutinise the work of the trust. And perhaps while you're changing your thoughts and your methods, you might look at the role of community trustees within the trust and to ensure that they do have parity of scrutiny and oversight, because the community at the moment doesn't feel that they do.
So that's also reminded me that I didn't answer your question earlier on in terms of board composition, so let me try and address both of those now. As I think you know, 3 of the trustees are appointed by RBKC, 3 are elected by the member organisations, and 6 are independent members. Since I took on the chair in 2015, I think actually the makeup of the board has shifted considerably. That doesn't mean it hasn't got further to go. It absolutely does. And actually I would say going down deeper into the organisation when you're talking about issues of diversity, equality and representation, the job is really never completely done. I mean, I think we have made a lot of progress. 8 of our board members are female, for example, which compares to a lot of other organisations. On your point about whether community trustees have full visibility of what's going on, I very much, if any of them want to speak up here, that would be excellent. But absolutely they do. The top board retains the decision-making powers. Any recommendation, be it coming from the nominations committee or coming from audit or property, always comes up to the full board, and there's always a comprehensive set of papers behind that. But I'm sure you will appreciate that this is everybody's idea of fun to sit on the audit committee, for example, and not everybody has necessarily the technical expertise to be able to do that. So we have these subcommittees of the board to undertake particular pieces of work where we need particular expertise. And we fill those boards out by also co-opting additional members on who have relevant expertise. And as I mentioned right at the beginning, and I'm going to say it again now because Niles wasn't here, and I hope you'll be pleased to hear this, we did just take a decision today to form another committee of the board, but not for once a technical committee around audit or property, but one which was about the charitable objects, the charitable purposes of the trust, and which would have exclusively local representation on it. I personally welcome that because I think it helps bring the debate that we've been having here today inside the trust in a way that we haven't had before, and we'll get that going in the first quarter of next year. I'm going to leave that answer there for the moment because I know there's lots more, and I'm going to come back again to you, Eve. If I'll be back to you in a moment too.
Yeah, just a quick note while we're on community trustees. I would like to thank community trustees for their brilliant work this year. I think they've been really great, and it's been so wonderful to have proper representation inside Westway Trust and really feel that difference. What I wanted to ask about actually is the public meetings that were instigated after last year's AGM. It got started, and then, as everything was disrupted by the fire. I know that also you're going through a process of looking at what CEOship means in Westway Trust because of the recent changes and because you're in an interim position. And I just want to make a suggestion that we move into a series of public engagements about that discussion. I know you're having that discussion internally, but it would be great to do some co-production on what the future of Westway Trust looks like and how those boards relate to each other. I would really welcome, as a member of the community, understanding how all of Westway Trust relates back to each other and feel to be educated, and that would be really helpful, but also to contribute to a series of discussions about the future of the trust. And what I would suggest those discussions came under was one constitution, as Tom has said, that we look collectively, i.e. publicly and in detail at what the constitution of Westway Trust should be moving towards, that we look at the structure of the board, and we look at how the executives relate to trustees and how those decisions are made. And it would be just really wonderful to take the opportunity while you are in an interim position to rethink what leadership in a community organisation looks like, or whether that word is even the correct one for the kinds of things that this community is asking for, which is co-production, co-design, etc. So it'd be really, if we could have an agreement to go back into those public engagement meetings and be looking at structures. I'm sure you're having those discussions internally, but open those discussions externally and taking them in the spirit of co-production. That'd be a really welcome intervention into all of our discussions that have been going on for 3 years.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. That would be great. I'll just give you a second to explain why we are where we are in the interim structure, and then I just want to bring in Fiona from them, who may want to make a comment on the previous position. And lastly, I'm conscious of time. The debate won't end when we stop the formal questioning. We'll carry on with other conversations. But on our interim structure, one of the reasons why we went to an interim structure before making any permanent decisions was because we did want to take time to reflect on our overall purpose and strategy, whether we're doing the right things in the right way, with the right balance. And so we thought we would genuinely take the time to do that, and we didn't think we could really consider a permanent structure until we had resolved that. So we very much welcome that, And yes, thank you. We will indeed do exactly that. There is though another point which should be mentioned as to why we have co-interim CEOs. And that's something which I have personally felt very strongly about. There's a lot of people feel that you can only get true accountability in an organisation if you have a single person at the top. In my personal experience, I don't actually think that is true. And by having two people, you begin to engender a partnership spirit. And hopefully that then feeds down through into the culture of the wider organisation. And for me, that would be a wonderful thing to be able to perpetuate going forward. So I'll just leave that comment hanging out there, and I'm going to take Fiona, and then I'll come to you.
Hi, good afternoon. My name's Fiona Ramsey. I'm one of the community trustees. And in answer to your questions, the reason why I came on the board in the first place is I grew up in White City. I've lived in North Kensington for 8 years. I went to Burlington Day School, and it was really important to me that initially the board was not reflective of the community, whether that be females, whether that be ethnicity. And it was an important part for me to sit within the conversations that were happening before they got out, that we had a voice. And myself and Shireen and other community members, it's really important to us that we have a voice, we have a full view of what's going on, not just on the audit side, not just on the community side. I'm really active in knowing everything. I read the papers, I read the reports, I speak to people within the community to make sure that I voice the opinions and the thoughts of the people in the actual community in which we live. Because there are some people that are on the board that maybe don't live in the area, and even if they don't, they're still very active to know what's going on. So my voice is as equal to anyone that sits on the audit board, the property board, and I make sure at every point that I speak to that point. It's really important there's more co-production. Even with things like Bay 20, it was really important to me that, you know, it's a great opportunity, it's something that is brilliant, we do get a shell, it's something that can be operated. My big point was, okay, after we get the shell, is it guaranteed that it stays community for the next 20, 50 to 100 years? And I'm very vocal about that. So I think it's made a big difference having community members who actually live within the area and actually speak to people who live in the area. And myself and Shireen particularly, definitely make sure that we do that and represent in all areas.
Thank you, Fiona. Thank you. So what I'm going to try and do is take 2 more questions, and then perhaps we can break and mingle. So first of all, the lady here, and then Niles.
Hi, I don't know how much this has been addressed recently. It's certainly been addressed at the council, but a few years back, the Westway Trust board was involved in winkling the Maxilla nursery out of its site. They were hand in hand working with the council in the closure of the Maxilla Nursery Centre, which was an outstanding nursery centre which served a lot of the local community who are now in crisis and really would benefit from that reopening. I'd like to know what discussions you've been in to reopen that. If you haven't, you should be, and I'd like some kind of commitment that you're going to try and do that.
Well, obviously, I was at the trust at the time, and we didn't want Maxilla Nursery to close. We did not want to close.
Everything advised.
We did not want the nursery to close. In fact, we argued that to remain open. Maxilla Nursery was, as you say, an outstanding nursery facility. The council made the decision to amalgamate. We did not close Maxilla Nursery, and we would have been.
Council to do it. Everyone knows it. I was also at the meeting where it was supposed to be a consultation, and it wasn't. It was an eviction.
We did not evict the nursery. We would have been absolutely delighted if the nursery funding continued and the nursery continued.
Did you consider taking a pay cut? Did you consider taking a pay cut?
I really can't have any more. We didn't want the notice.
Did you consider taking a pay cut? And some of your top, you know, because we already heard like the pay salary between like the top team is like hundreds, yeah, thousands. So I mean, you know, it's just like maths, a bit of maths. You take 10,000 off here, 10,000 off there. Did it really have to go? Could you have saved it between you? Yeah.
That wasn't our decision. We would have been.
No, your decision to take a pay cut. Can you not do that? Is it not in your ability to say, you know what, between us, we want to save the, you know, we want to save the Maxilla?
The council raised the rents, and you refused to put pressure on them or to pay an excessive rent.
How can you?
You work with the council to put pressure. You could put pressure on them.
You know, the Maxilla is exactly what it's been left to the community. Yeah, if you get rid of that, then there's nothing. Yeah, just except for highly paid people in positions of power. You know, if you take that away, what's the point of you even being here? Do you know what I mean? I don't understand. You can take a pay cut. Why did you let it go? If you let that go, there's nothing for us. What is there for us if you don't have a Maxilla? If you don't have these, we don't have our community venues. We don't have our venture playground. We don't have our stables. What is there here for us? Just you taking a lot of money.
Back up what Jacob's saying. With a technical point here. Exactly what Jacob is saying is backed up by your trustees and committee membership. With all due respect, Fiona, to what you've just said, you are not a member of any of the committees that make the decisions that then go and are recommended to the board. You are not part of one of those, and in fact, there is no community membership on any of those committees. Not the Nominations and Governance Committee, the Audit Committee, the Remuneration Committee, or the Property and Regeneration Committee. Those are the spaces where people make serious decisions and have serious discussions about the issues that affect the 23 acres. That is where those decisions are then advised to the board. And there is no community membership on those. In fact, one of the most important committees, the Property and Regeneration Committee, Cynthia Dyes was on that. She was a member group trustee up until the 30th of January of this year. And so since then, there has been no community representation on those meetings. I brought this up with Mark. There was no one there. There are, excuse me, on the Remuneration Committee, you have Alan Brown, Councillor Anne Siren, and Karen Bendel. There is no community representation.
Can I just correct you? Can I just correct you on the Property Committee? We did have a gap after Cynthia left. It's been filled most recently by Henry Peterson.
Right, for how many of those meetings?
I've only been to my first one, Toby.
There you go.
So hang on a minute, Toby. You've said quite a lot of this meeting. Yeah. I used to come to these AGMs and protest in pretty similar terms to you about the way the trust behaved, about the fact it had sold land to JC Deco to build advertising towers, about the secrecy and lack of transparency of the property committee, and how we were never told how much money came from those advertising towers into the trust. There was an advert. Any of us could have responded to it. I did. I had a long interview. I expressed my misgivings about how the trust had worked in the past, but the trust has said, fine, come and be a co-opted member on the Property and Regeneration Committee, which is the one that is dealing with Westway Sports Centre, Bay 20 and so forth. I've only been to the one meeting, still plenty of background that I don't need to know. But what I would say in response to Liz's eloquent and powerful speech is that there are a lot of us here who remember the 1970s, who remember what community development and engagement and all the different models were like. But at the end of the day, if there is going to be co-production and co-design, there has to be some responsibility on the community to help to make that happen by organising themselves in ways that it is possible to do that co-production with some accountability at the other end. So there are the models, you know, community interest companies, industrial and providence societies, neighbourhood forums. You and I have talked about those things in the past. There has to be some...
We've done that. There's a CIC and the stable.
I know, and that's great.
We've done that. We have multiple groups. We have RAP 23 to deal with it.
And I know a number of them are companies, CIC.
We have all sorts of organisations like that. So that's disingenuous to say that we haven't done that. We've done that, Henry, and you know
and there's been no progress.
And you also know the limits on neighbourhood forums, which take an extreme amount of work
they do
to deal with. And you know that because you've put through a neighbourhood forum.
They're giving you a line that you shouldn't believe.
No, I'm very willing to listen to why CIC, my understanding was that the stables, there is, a viable and sensible way forward. I've talked to Sarah in the past, I haven't talked to her in the last year, so I don't know how she feels about the current position.
The point remains is that in the last AGM, I pointed specifically to community oversight, and it was something that Monica picked up on also in that AGM. I'm looking at exactly the same situation as last year.
Yeah.
Which is that there's no community oversight in these committees.
So Toby...
And yet you have Terence Buxton, you have Gemma Laurie, and you have Thomasin Renshaw in those committees.
Toby, it did take time to get local representation on the property committee. It's there now. And just to do remember that there's a new committee that we're forming, which is focusing on the charitable purposes of this organisation, will be entirely community based. Yes, it may have taken time. Some of these things do take.
It didn't need to take that long.
And on the other committees, things like audit, yes, we do look for people who have expertise in that area, who have an accountancy background or something of that nature to enable us to do that. But because that's the nature of that job.
Can I just suggest that maybe you appoint people to those committees to train them? That would be a really helpful thing to do inside the you could skill us up that way. Because we're really keen, I've said this to you before when we as friends, we're really keen to understand how to do this and we're really keen to participate. So maybe appointments could be done for training purposes and then we will rise to what you need us to be. You will.
I'm sure we have people from the community that already have those skills. I'm sure that they applied for the job possibly and you just chose certain people.
Can I also suggest that we do some pay cuts at the top, because then we might get a different selection of people. Managed
or cut the consultation
that are here for the community and not for, you know what I mean? Yeah? Right? Because, at the end of the day, what we're getting left with is highly paid people at the top, and we lost our stables, we've lost our nursery, we've lost our venture playground, we've lost our community venue, and the only reason we have a community on this land is because it's been taken by force.
So let me tell you that.
And otherwise we'd have nothing. Yeah? Nothing.
Let me tell you that the number of the executive, the people you think are paid a lot, is down from 6 to 4, and also the pay of the most senior people is less than it used to be in the past. So in a sense, we have done that. But can I now hear from Niles, who's been extraordinarily patient?
Can I make one more point, please? Sorry,
so that's a no then. No more cuts.
Can I make one more point? We had consultants working on the stables for a year and a half. That they were paid extortionate amounts and moved forward nothing.
So
how much money have you wasted on consultants that have not moved your project forward?
So let me pick up this point about consultants, because I do think it is. I'll give you an example, a very recent example. We have 81 people on staff in total, many of whom are out there working with the communities and things like supplementary schools or whatever. So we have a relatively small body of people, and there are times when we need expertise, which we don't have within our
You did have
resources.
it. I mean,
just a second. Let me give you this example.
On your land, we had Sarah, who had equestrian knowledge. She had run stables on your land for 25 years. And repeatedly, you have treated her like she had absolutely no equestrian knowledge and no knowledge of the site. And you have you've tried to force onto our board people that would stand over Sarah. And she has run a business on your site for 25 years that you forced out of business.
We haven't forced anyone on.
You did force
Let me
out
finish
of
my
business.
example. Let me finish my example, if you would. So, amongst the other tragedies that we've had this year, there was Borough Market. one of the decisions that we took as a result of that, as a board, was that we needed to assess the terrorism threat around Portobello Road. Obviously, we didn't have those skills in-house, so we went out and
One
retained.
example, but you hired
And we retained them to provide
pay
a
them
report
hundreds of
for us
thousands of pounds.
on our vulnerability there, which we're now able to proactively take to RBKC and the police, who previously were not doing anything in that space. We think that was a good decision of the board to spend that money on that. Nice.
Okay. I had to say this once before this year, and the two words are game over. It's done. See, this disingenuous game that you play with us, it's over, because the truth was just spoken a second ago. You have decimated this community. You've shut down everything that was functional. And you talk about CICs. Why? Because you all like CICs because they can't do what we do, shut you down. You can't take back the land, can they? You love CICs because they're comfortable for you, because they won't rebel. You love member organisations that you choose, that you're comfortable with, because you know they're not going to rebel. The only thing we've got out of you as a community in these last 2 years since we shut down your 12 all-white board, yeah, is what we've taken. And we are under no illusions, and we are under no illusions, yeah, that we won't continue to be disenfranchised over tea and biscuits for the rest of our lives if we continue to listen to your BS. This is the reality. Now, I could go on for a long time, but there's so many things. Pay 20, 30 years of arrested development, 30 years of opportunity costs for our community, livelihoods lost, trades not passed on, an insurmountable loss that means nothing to you, because when an opportunity comes along, you're going to exploit us just like you've done for the last 40 years. BBC, how can the BBC come down here and give us a limited offer? A limited offer. So you don't really care what's going on down here. You're just saying basically, we need to do this thing now. And if we don't, we're going to lose the donations. Well, I'll tell you something, I'll send you a message from the community. Anyone who brings donations down here, Postman Brook, right? And you're going to give us a time limit on them, you can take them back to where you got them from. Because that's exploitation. There should be no time limit on anything. You best realize what this community is going through. And I don't think you do, because you don't take it seriously. And we had to take it so seriously, we had to take back land to deal with our problems. Yeah? Now I've got a couple of questions for you, because I could go on for ages about all of the things that's wrong, but you're like RBKC, dysfunctional. You're not fit for purpose. You are no longer viable. Yeah, let's use your language, and let's truly regenerate something today, yeah? Have you heard of this? Yeah? I've got an email here that was sent to all of you. And I'm going to ask you that question. It stems from this question. What happened to Christian Tillery? Why is he not here? Those people that you brought in 2 years ago, that we spent hours and hours and hours working with, that we weren't paid for, while you lot are paying each other £250, £300 a day. Yeah? But we did the work for the community for nothing. We've lost through this, yeah? You understand? We've lost our livelihoods, we've lost our businesses, while you keep getting paid. And you keep getting it wrong and you can still come back to work. Now I'm going to ask you a question, yeah? What happened to Christian?
Right. So first of all, you said you keep being paid. Let it be quite clear.
No, I'm talking to you as a collective, not you. Don't try and distract the conversation. What happened to Christian Tillery?
So, Christian and Miriam resigned. We dealt with this question earlier on before you joined us.
Did you answer it?
I'm afraid I
want to answer, a proper answer. And if you don't answer it, I'm going to answer it.
But, well, Niles, you can have a go. But we did not want
I have more than a go.
We did not want them to go. They resigned.
Okay. I've got an email here that was sent to you from Christian. Do any of these things ring a bell? I had been caricatured as an internal activist.
Right, so Niles, look,
no, don't stop me. No. Does that sound familiar to you?
Wait a second. I know the email you're referring to, and we did all receive it. I agree. We have this matter independently investigated. We brought in external...
By who?
We brought in an external lawyer.
Who?
I'm not going into the name.
I know you won't go into it because they didn't represent us, other side. Something would have happened with this.
We don't talk about personnel matters. It's important that we retain the confidentiality. So
I know you're going to say that, but I'll continue then. Because you can't talk, I'll continue. Yeah? Right? How about this? Going native. Going native. Does that ring a bell? Senior executives. Going native. Oh, go ahead, alright. I can read this out. Do you want me to read out the whole email or do you just want to own up? You understand? Because it's time for the truth, you know. Going native, what's the other one? You're starting to sound like one of them. This is Christian, the person that you brought in to develop a relationship with the community. Yeah? Our relationship grew so strong that it threatened you. Yeah? And you accused him of going native, sounding like them. And you labelled him an internal activist, yeah? Right, I've got it here, bro. Also, right? No, don't. Are you going to shout now, are you?
Will you please not use the word you? Because you're implying that these are my words. No, and I want to make it quite...
You know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about you as an organisation. Your senior management that manages to lock anybody out who wants to do positive for the community. Even our own trustees, because you will keep them out of the major decisions, won't you? While you try and manipulate everything. How about this one? This was the classic. I believe this to be one of the biggest classics of all time. You know, want to hear this one? You are dangerously close to the community. You are dangerously close to the community and you should establish a professional distance. Senior executive team of Westway Trust about a man that we trusted. The only one of you that we trusted. Do you understand? In fact, there's a few people that came in at that time that we still trust. Yeah? But you see, you lot on the senior executive board, you have no moral compass. Yeah? You're the same people, you're the same culture that is responsible for everything that's happening in our area. The culture of regeneration that don't care, will eat up our community at a drop of a hat. Dangerously close to the community. Yeah? So you can shake your head, but this is an email, yeah, that was sent to you. Now, furthermore, that led to an investigation, didn't it? It led to an investigation. And what was your conclusion from that investigation? This is just one thing. There's more in here. There's about 4 points that I can bring up that he brought up for why he resigned. Yeah? Why he resigned. You said you don't know why he resigned, right? No. These emails were sent to you. Yeah, directly to you.
I do know.
Yeah, you also said I witnessed unchecked discrimination and bias. Yeah? Yeah? You also said I regarded the proposed Portobello Civic Arts and Cultural Spaces as being misrepresented in the consultation process that was being asked to lead with Miriam and Elkin, also now resigned. So what happened to Miriam?
Same thing, she resigned.
Okay, why did she resign?
I think the answer, as I said earlier on, was that clearly Christian and Miriam did not like the direction that the trust was going in.
They're not the only ones.
Alright, well I'll explain to you all. I'll explain to you all. No, you can't shout me down, bro. Don't try and do that.
You asked me a question, I just want to answer it. You said what was the result of the investigation? The result of the investigation was that none of these allegations in the email that you have been reading out were found to be true. every single one of them was asked
By who?
by a lawyer that we brought in, working with our trustee. And let Monica...
You're telling me that someone who came here to work with the community, that committed to this, that we know committed to it, to such a level that we actually trusted that person, yeah, would just leave and make up lies like that about what he was going through in your organisation? Do you think that's actually plausible? Like, why would you leave your job if things were going so well? Why would you leave your job? Yeah? It's obvious what's going on. And I'll tell you another reason why. I'll tell you all why Miriam left. These keys I've got around my neck. That's why Miriam left, yeah? You see these keys here? To Bay 56? That's why Miriam left, yeah? She was forced out by you lot. And you can say no, but I know for a fact, yeah? So you can all make up your minds, yeah, how truthful this board is today. And if you're willing to keep going along with this, yeah? But I'll tell you what happened a month after we moved into Bay 56. Guess who I get a visit for? Alan Brown and Co. What was our conversation, Alan? Yeah? Which is tremendous work you've been doing here, man. This is wonderful what you've been doing in here. Yeah? So how long is a piece of string? We tell you it's an impossible question to answer. We'll be here for a while doing what we have to do for our people. You then agree that, yeah, we'll look at 3 months, yeah? Then Alex and Mark come up and start talking to me about how they can't do that for any one operator because it's a pop-up situation and no one person could be running that. And what did I tell you? Game over. Yeah? We're not playing games. We're trying to survive. Yeah? And what did I tell you? Do you want to tell these people what I told you? Alright. But what did I tell you? I told you, if you want to move me out of here, move me physically. And hold up. And that is the reason why we're still in Bay 56. Because even the work that we were doing for our people, after a month, you wanted us out of there. That's the truth. And that's why Miriam had to resign, because Angela was so pissed off when she found out about these keys. Do you understand? The same keys I wear around my neck to remind you of who you are and what you represent, because you represent the same culture that brought Grenfell into being. You all do. That's the culture that you represent, the culture that eats our communities and resources, eats our lives, destroys our lives for the last 30, 40 years. Bay 20, 30 years, nothing has gone on there. Why? You came up and you found out why, didn't you? But it doesn't stop you still trying to do what you do, because you can't help yourself. You're the same as RBKC. You're no different. You all share the same culture. Now you can pretend today that this is just mythical, yeah? But why would a man resign from a highly paid job where he loves the community that he's working with? Don't get this wrong. Christian worked with us. He got to know us. And he got to respect us, which is something that you've never done. Yeah? You only respect us out of fear, because you know what we're capable of. But you don't respect us. You exploit our culture and you exploit our community constantly. Sarah's business is over. You killed it. Don't talk about CIC or what's going to happen in the future, because you led her along until there was no more functionality for a business. Her business is not running anymore. Our venues are not running anymore. Maxilla is not there anymore. So we were being attacked. We were in a war before Grenfell happened, yeah? And don't you ever dare come again and just stand up and barefaced lie to this community, because I will shut you down. I swear, you are not doing this anymore. Yeah, and you can try and get your way out of it. I'll print this so everyone can see. Yeah? Dangerously close to the community. That's what happened to the people that we trusted, that actually had some love for the community and tried to do something positive. They gave to us and you shut them down, going native. Yeah?
I think there's only one thing that you and I are probably going to agree on this, but I think that we are living in a parallel universe, because I totally disagree with everything you said. And I'll leave it at that.
You can disagree.
We do allow Monica to have a word.
You can disagree, but everybody here has heard what happened today. Weigh that up with what you've actually seen happen around you. Yeah? Weigh that up, and then weigh it up with what they say and what everybody has said today about what's going on in our community, yeah? I ask the trustees and all of you here to put a stop to this now, yeah? Because this is 3 years now we've been in this situation, yeah? You take us for idiots. You take us for fools.
Thank you. I only want to say something briefly. As you know, I'm a Labour councillor, and 5 years ago we would not accept nominations onto the board. And then Pat Mason took 4 years, and I've been a trustee for a year, or about 18 months I think now. And yes, it's slow, and yes, it's compromised, but as Henry said, and I think as Fiona said, we all need to work at all different levels, and we need to be there to witness, and we need to be there to influence, and it is a difficult job. But if we're being honest here tonight, Niles, you know that email, I know that email, we all received that email, and the majority of us were extremely disturbed and took it straight for a full board discussion. And those quotes which you have said, Christian quoted, they were made by about one person, not the full executive team, and not Alan. They were made about one person. And what is the big difference that we see at this year's AGM? Our CEO is no longer with us. What's the other big difference?
We've given a glowing report.
What's the other big difference? That we have not moved on to immediately replacing with one person. We've moved to an interim. One of the first discussions was, it was a real tipping point when Christian and Miriam felt they had to go, right? And that also coincided with the tipping point of some of the promises we made at last year's AGM. Well, one major thing has changed, and you've seen that in the personalities that are moving, are helping us move forward. We have this new community committee, and it's been pushed very much by community trustees, and we've had the support of the new interim CEOs and the chair. And things are slow. Of course they're slow. We had so many plans in January, February, we started the public meetings, and the words that Lizzie so eloquently used, we haven't used them maybe as eloquently, but my background's also in community development, and one of the things we said was, before any kind of new management structure or individuals come in, we need public meetings, we need participation, and there are two ways of looking at things, as Lizzie said. There are assets, and Lizzie talked about community assets, but how the Westway has decided in the past to interpret its charitable mission is to use assets to bring in income and then hand them out through grants and various other ways. And one of the things we've looked at is now the big debate has to be that yes, we are asset rich and cash not so rich, so you can't turn your assets straight into cash, but they can be community managed, community led, and where your income comes from comes via what the community do with that. That's the debate we're just starting. I'm frustrated, everybody's frustrated about the time, but at the same time, you look at our board now. Yes, we're all compromised, yes, we're all trying, we like to be moving faster, but just look at the makeup of the board now, and let's start to look forward to the fact that yes, those public meetings that Eve talked about, we have to have them. We've got to, how they work, that's got to be your input. But we've all got to take responsibility for not going back all the time and saying it's one individual's fault. We've moved certain individuals. Let's now, at these public meetings, move forward, because there's no plans for what the structure of management of the Westway Trust is, and we on the board, all of us, really need that input. That's what I'd say.
Thank you, Mark. I'm going to close the formal part of the meeting now, because we really have gone seriously over time. Let us continue this discussion. Sorry?
How did you just like allowed to just leave and that's it? Did you want her to stay?
Why was she allowed to leave with a £12,000 bonus based on 4 key performance indicators, 3 of which she did not meet?
As I said, the formal part of this meeting is over.
She had 4 key performance indicators that were decided by her. She made those up, and then she only hit 1 of them, and yet you gave her a £12,000 bonus.
Let her resign.
Which is the full bonus.
Investigation correct. She was on the investigation.
Well, prove otherwise. Prove otherwise.
Prove otherwise.
You lot, you think like John, you lot? Are you a joker? You should get off, seriously, you really should get off. Along with about 5 of your other co-opted trustees, you should be off, believe me. Yeah, but you're going to have to take at least 3 or 4 of them as well. I'm off at least 3. Yeah? I know I've got skills, you don't worry about my skills. Like I said, I'll be on your board because I'm worth 3 or 4 of you, and 3 or 4 of you come off that board, I'll come on. That's my deal. It's not about arrogance, bruv, it's about provable facts that are there, that I represent this community better than you do, and at least 3 other of you. It's not about respect, it's about speaking facts.
Get that on film.
Okay, so whose idea was it to use instancy as because they are experts at hiding money and hiding behind corporate wealth, right? Yeah. Well, you know what? And they're also always into conflicts of interest as well. Yeah. I'll be looking for conflicts of interest anyway, because I have a case with them already. So it's a personal thing for me. Yes, that's right.
We'll try and meet Friday.
Yes, sir.